بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Indeed, all praise is due to Allah. We praise Him, seek His aid and ask His forgiveness. We seek refuge in Allah from the evils of ourselves and from the evils of our actions. Whomsoever Allah guides, none can misguide. And whomsoever Allah misguides, none can guide. I bear witness that there is none worthy of worship except for Allah alone, having no partner. And I bear witness that Muhammad is His slave and His messenger. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. You who believe, fear Allah as you should be feared by not accepting a state of Islam with complete submission to Allah. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. O mankind, be dutiful to your Lord who created you from a single person, Adam alayhi salam. And from him He created his wife, Hawa, may peace and blessing be upon both of them. And from them both He created many men and women. Fear Allah, through whom you demand your mutual rights, and do not cut the relations of your relatives. Surely Allah is ever and all watch over you. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. O you who believe, keep your duty to Allah and speak always the truth. He will direct you to do righteous good deeds, and He will forgive your sins, and also obeys Allah and His Messenger has indeed achieved a great achievement. To proceed, أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله. The best of speech, the best of talks beyond any doubt is the Qur'an, the Book of Allah. وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. And the best of guidance beyond any doubt is the guidance of His Messenger Muhammad, may peace and blessing be upon him. And verily, إن شر الأمور محدثاتها, the most evil of all matters in religion in Islam are the ones innovated. فإن كل محدثة بدعة. For every newly innovated matter in Islam is an innovation, بدعة. وكل بدعة ضلالة, and every innovation in Islam is misguidance. وكل ضلالة في النار, and every misguidance will definitely lead to the hellfire. Before I start, first of all, the sound, is it okay? Number one. Number two, in terms of temperature-wise, is it okay with the heat and everything? Alhamdulillah. Well, I'm not okay with something which is, I could see the brothers here are taking the walls and I'm speaking to empty space here. So I would like the brothers to come forward as close as possible. This is the sunnah, unless you are 50 plus. You could go against the wall. You got something wrong, problem in the back. 50 plus, no problem. 50 below, come forward. Right, this is the etiquette of sitting as the companions used to sit around the Prophet ﷺ. And it does result into more rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it would result as well in more understanding. For verily, the unity of the bodies would result in the unity of the hearts, and that's why the Prophet ﷺ was very keen. Every time he wants to start the prayer, he would line up the row, and he would make sure there's no gaps between the feet or the shoulders, feet to feet, shoulder to shoulder. The reason behind this, otherwise your hearts will be different. Your hearts will not be with each other. So that is why we say it is very important for the person, when he sits to gain the knowledge, to sit as the companions to sit with the Prophet of Allah. Straight to the topic, which is the topic that is being chosen and approved by me, by the people who are in charge. And the topic, maybe it is not suitable for the time, because the time is Ramadan, in about 3 or 4 days. Inshallah, it could be Friday, it could be Saturday. We're going to have Ramadan, so it could have been maybe, I wouldn't say more wiser, but more suitable to have that about Ramadan. But we don't mind, inshallah, through the question and answers to ask things about Ramadan. Because Ramadan, as I said, lots of people have been speaking about it, and the virtues are still the same. Maybe you find here something more and something here a bit more, but it's all of it to do with the same. But the question, maybe, if you have any question as well, regarding the month of Ramadan, go ahead. But the topic is, that is the Wahhabi myth. The Wahhabi myth, that is, or Wahhabism, or the, as well, coupled with the blind following. And that is why I'm dressed up as they say, Wahhabi. Okay? I made sure that I'm in full gear. So, you know, the cloak and the scarf and the beard and the way that the scarf is, and make sure there's a line in the middle as well. So that is to this plus that plus this. For the people, it's Wahhabi. As soon as he sees you, you'll give him an impression that you are Wahhabi. So let's just see what is Wahhabi means and who amongst the Wahhabi says the Wahhabi. Before I start, I start, inshallah, with this little introduction, a story that took place with me through my, you could say, history of da'wah. It was the first classes I used to do, and I decided to make a class in one of the villages. The village is not far away from where I live, the city, and the masjid is bigger than this masjid, about three times the size of this masjid. But the people there are primitive, just normal people. And the imam there, he's inclined to nobody. He's just a Muslim. And he invited me to give classes there, and I decided to give the classes of Sifatu Salat al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That is the prayer of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as you've seen it, from the book of Sheikh al-Albani rahimahullah. Which I urge everybody to read that book, especially, before I start with the book, the introduction of it, because it comes into this topic. The introduction of that book is into this topic. So I started to give, I went there and I had students with me coming as well to the masjid. And because the rumor, already is there that I am going to go there, so I carry the flag of Wahhabi to these people. So those people who know about this Wahhabism, or not Wahhabism, or what they call it Wahhabism, they have started now spreading rumors against me. And they're trying just to make sure that there will be nobody listening to me. But the people that, they're simple, they don't know anything. So when I went to the masjid, the people heard something for the very first time. Qala Allah, Qala Rasul. Allah said, the Prophet said. Nothing from my pocket, nothing from any scholars, just from the Allah and Messenger. Qala Allah, Qala Rasul. And the da'wah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always successful. Okay, he's always successful. And when I started, already his wife, the wife of the Imam, she was a simple woman. The people who are anti-Wahhabism or anti-Salafi, already they send their wives to the wife of the Imam to warn her against me and to warn her to go and, tight the screw on her Imam, to her husband, to make sure that he does not, listen to me or does not let me give talks in the masjid. So they said to her, your husband became Wahhabi. He's about to become Wahhabi. She doesn't know anything. So the Imam, later on, the following day, he phones me. He says to me, I'm going to tell you something. My wife, when I went to the house, she said to me, congratulations. I said, what? He became Wahhabi. What do you mean? She said, because I've heard in the radio, in the verse, say, Rabbana innaka anta al-Wahhab. So he became Wahhabi. I never thought about this before. Came from a simple person. Wallahi, if Wahhabi means this, I'm the first Wahhabi. And you're going to be the first Wahhabi. Because Wahhab is one of the names of Allah. Al-Wahhab. Abdul Wahhab, the slave of Allah. I am Wahhabi, belonging to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that simple woman, she gave me an answer. Jazakallah khayran. I never thought of it. Congratulations, you became Wahhabi. If it was said to me from somebody, I would thought of it as a joke. But this is reality. That simple person. Right. Now, to start with, the name Wahhab and Wahhabi, it is not, of course, meant in the verse. These people mean it that you are linked to Muhammad Wahhab, and I don't think they know, most of them, Muhammad Wahhab is linked to Saudi Arabia. Basically, you're linked to Saudi Arabia. And that is why you fast, and you're cycling with the moon, it had to synchronize with Saudi Arabia, isn't it? And that is why you're Wahhabi. Your Sheikh Siddiq and Sheikh Suhaib, things like this. This is Wahhabi for them. Wahhabi prays, slowly. Because if you don't pray slowly, you're not Wahhabi. So to prove you're not Wahhabi, you have to pray fast. So this is for the simple people. When they see somebody, so they tell me, for example, you give me the postcode, whether I don't wrong or right, but send me to the other masjid. I thought, mashallah, we do have a very good masjid here. Let me just switch off my mobile, and everybody please as well. Okay, let me just switch off my mobile here. I thought I switched it off. Right, I'm sorry about that. I thought it was that masjid. So I thought, mashallah. you've got a big masjid here, and I was really thrilled, alhamdulillah. But then, well, when I asked the boy there, is this in a lecture there? He said, what? We got praying Asr. Asr. It must be Hanafi, could be Dawbandi Masjid, could be Brayli Masjid, I don't know, one of the two. Could be Dawbandi or Brayli. It's a Hanafi, and it's Asr. Asr, which is very late, for them. Regardless of the fiqh issue, but I knew it was not going to be there, because if I'm going to talk about that issue, it's like throwing a bomb into the masjid. You can't talk about such a subject like this. No way they'll let you do that. Now, Wahhabi linked to Saudi Arabia. If it is the case, why is it that we find all the Salafis who are being labeled to be Wahhabis, in all of the places in UK, most of them, they're very poor, their masjid is very small, whereas those people who are not linked to the Saudi Arabians, they're very rich, and their masjid are very big and huge. Tell me, you understand what I'm saying? Except for Regent Park. And Regent Park Masjid, by the way, is not for Saudi Arabia, it's for all the Arab countries. All of them, they share in building it. So, for example, the Saudi Arabia take care of the da'wah, and they pay as well the salaries, and as well the Arab, for example, the Egyptian take care of the imam, that's why the imam has to be Egyptian. So, it is a cosmopolitan, you could say, masjid. It is not for one faction or not one for one person. So I'm just saying, where is that thing that you say that we are linked to Saudi Arabia? So, if they think I'm linked to Saudi Arabia, I should really be hawking my Lamborghini outside, I've got an old banger. I could be Lamborghini there, parking it, mashallah, or Mercedes at least, costed 50, 70, 80,000 pounds. That's something 400 pounds or 500 pounds. So where is it that the link that we have to the Wahhabi? I want to understand. If we are linked to Saudi Arabia, I wish that King Abdullah sent me some salary in my pocket. I don't mind. I don't mind. So where is that myth? Where is it coming from? I want to understand. So these people who are saying, well, please brother, tell me, do you find me like I'm linking, I've got petrol in my house? Why are you calling me Wahhabi? So I could see that you are more Wahhabi than, if you want it, more than me. Because you're rich and your masjid is rich and everybody, mashallah. Above the window, they say it. So I think it is all of it based upon wrong interpretation, and number two, which is evil doctrination. That means evil injection, evil vaccination. And I'm telling you this, and subhanallah, my heart is shattered because of this. There are schools whom their teacher go to the kids, 15, 14, 13, 12 years old. In their class, they teach them to be anti-Salafi, against this manhaj. And then they crack jokes about them. And I'm talking about something which I know for a fact. They crack jokes about it. Look, Salafis, they say Qur'an is a bid'ah. Qur'an is a bid'ah. And as well the Imam, he once he wants to line up, the row, he's just like he's having boxing gloves, and he's about to throw, punches here and there to line up the row. All these jokes being given by Subi, highly calibered sheikhs to their students. So this is the evil vaccination or evil information given by these people about this manhaj, because they know for a fact that if that vaccination wasn't there, these people are very easy to come to this manhaj. It's not because we give petrol, we give money. No, Allah, because we give qala Allah, qala Rasul. The manhaj, this is the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And don't worry, brother, the more they fight it, the more it will spread. But it is from the universal law of Allah Azza wa Jal that always the few, they got the truth. And the major, or the whole of the masses, they will be upon the wrong path. How do I know that? From the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. When the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wa sallam, he said, بدأ الإسلام غريبا وسيعود غريبا كما بدأ فطوبى للغرباء. That is, Islam started as a stranger. Yes, when the Prophet of Allah came with the religion, animosity and enmity from everywhere. People were split between the father and the son. And it was few people whom Islam was built upon. The majority of the people were kuffar. And he says Islam started like this, as a stranger, and it will end up as a stranger. It will become as a stranger. A person holding to his religion like holding on a burning coal. So, بدأ الإسلام غريبا وسيعود غريبا فطوبى للغرباء. Tuba is like what a destination. Or it could be a tree in paradise. That is, the rider will not be able to cross it for 100 years. Tuba for those who are strangers. Ya Rasulullah, ومن هم الغرباء? Who are these strangers? قال أناس صالحون قليل في أناس سوء كثير من يعصيهم أكثر مما يطيعهم. That is, it is very few righteous people amidst a lot of corrupted people, the ones who disobey them more than the ones who obey them. The one who disobey them more than the one who obey them. So the haqq is always with those who are few. And بدأ الإسلام غريبا. And the other hadith which supports such a hadith, قال لا تزال طائفة من أمتي ظاهرين على الحق لا يضرهم من خالفهم ولا من خذلهم حتى يأتي أمر الله. That is, there's a group of my ummah, only a group, small group, prevailing upon haqq. Not going to be harmed from those who oppose them from outside, the enemies, or from those who let them down from amongst themselves, حتى يأتي أمر الله, until the day of that judgment, until the hour. So here we have that those people, even they are few, the haqq is with them, and the people who oppose them are more. So why do we have this, you could say, misconception, misinterpretation? Why the people are lost? Why they're not really hooked into this manhaj? Because, as I said, number one, the jahl, the ignorance, which we're trying to do, and number two, the evil vaccination and being given by those people. Brother, can we just have some more air? Because it's too much heat makes the people sleep. And I don't want them to sleep, because we just started now. Right. Now, amongst you, some of you, maybe they don't know the word Wahhabi. Wahhabi means Muhammad Wahhab, that's what they want. Muhammad Wahhab, rahimahullah, a scholar who was born in the year 1115 Hijrah. So now at the moment we are 1433. So that's about more than 300 years ago. This person, he learned the Qur'an, and then he traveled. He was born in a place called Uyayna in Saudi Arabia, the Arabian Peninsula. He gained the knowledge, and then he went to Iraq, he traveled to lots of places, and went back, and he was known to the scholars like Imam al-San'ani and others to be a scholar of his own kind, Jazakallah Barakallahu fikum. So the man was known to be a scholar, not affiliated to any madhab, except that his usul means that when he was brought up on the Hanbali usul. But doesn't mean that you are Hanbali stuck to the opinions of Ahmad ibn Hanbal all the time, but he was raised on the usul, the foundation of Imam Ahmad. But whenever the hadith is authentic, he would hook onto it. And that is why Imam Muhammad Wahhab made it clear in his letters that I don't call for any madhab, I don't call for any methodology, except for the methodology of the companions. I am not called for Sufis. I don't as well say any scholar who made ijtihad to be a disbeliever or to be a misguided, for God forbid. I call for the manhaj whom the companions had called for, whom the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had praised in his book, and whom the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had praised in his sunnah. So the man was clear about this da'wah. But this da'wah was strengthened when it was coupled with the exception and adoption of those who were in charge in Arabia, Saudi Arabia. So Imam Muhammad bin Saud, he adopted this da'wah, so it became now knowledge, but with power, the power of the sword. And when you have this da'wah with the power of the sword, you have an Islamic state which is until today based upon this da'wah. That is Al-Mamlaka Al-Arabiya Al-Saudiya. That is the United Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Saud, Imam Muhammad Saud, who adopted the da'wah of Muhammad Wahhab. The da'wah of Wahhab, it is not Wahhabism, it is Salafism if you like it. Salafism, what is Salafism? That is, you go back to the companions, you go back to the root, you go back to the interpretation of those whom Allah is pleased with and whom His Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is pleased with. This is what is the Salafi. Salafi, predecessors. As-Salaf al-Salih, the righteous predecessors. He was upon that. Now, did his followers make something wrong? Yes, they did. Some of his followers who are not knowledgeable, they had done something wrong. For example, they, what they call in the Khwain, they have done some killing or assassination to people, which the Imam or the scholars who are at that time, they will not approve of. But those things, those little incidents, they were exploited. And they were enlarged so much. And you know that time it was the Ottoman state. Ottoman state, which took place after the Abbasid state, the Ottoman. And the Ottomans at the last era of their reign of Khilafah, they were Sufis and inclined to Sufism. And Sufism is to do with spiritualism. And number two, many ahadith are authentic, many ibadat which are bid'ah. So for example, instead of going to Saudi Arabia, saying labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, inna alhamda wal ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak, they were chanting, they were dancing, they were singing. And that is why some of those who are the followers of the Imam used to stop them from doing that. They want to go and proceed to the Kaaba, you have to stay the talbiyah, not your chanting. Because of that, there was a conflict. So the Ottomans, who are from the Sufis there at that time, started to spread rumors about this da'wah. So they said, this da'wah, this person, he wants to claim to be a prophet. They said that this person, he had said something wrong against the Prophet ﷺ. He hates even the remembrance of Allah. He hates to say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And they, to prove that, they say, look, for example, our adhan, after we finish the adhan, the muadhin says, in the Ottomans, they say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Whereas these people, they say this bid'ah. Which is bid'ah? The person who makes the adhan, he has to stop with word, la ilaha illallah. But the Ottomans, just like as well the Shia, they add. The Ottomans used to add, wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad in the adhan. So the Imam Hamd Wahhab and his followers said, this is bid'ah. So they said, look, they hate the Prophet. They hate to pass salutation upon the Prophet. And they made this rumor, and until today this rumor is flying around between the people, that when they told them, the brother, please when you make the adhan, stop at la ilaha illallah. As for sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you have to say it inside yourself, not to make it public, not to make it allowed in front of everybody. And the rumor was flying. And he was going more and more. And they had accused even that he was cooperating with the English. There was a person called Mr. Hamba. And I was really astonished. Mr. Hamba is a British person who had claimed that he met the Imam in Iraq. And he's given the dates. And he had made his mudhakkirat treaties, in which he had said so many things which are fabricated about the Imam. This book, guess who is spreading it? It is not the English people. It is not the non-Muslims. It is actually our brothers from the Muslims, from Jamaat al-Tabligh. They're spreading the book and they give it to the Arabs who are the followers there. Look what is Sheikh Muhammad Wahhab is doing. I took the book of Mr. Mudhakkirat Hamza. I went with another student of knowledge, who's a friend of mine, and we started making a refutation. The Jazakallahu Khayran, he finished a big book, refutation, which we called it انقضاض الغضنفر على مذكرات هنفر. انقضاض الغضنفر, that is the attack of the lion on the treatise of Hanfar. But that's it sounds like a poetry, yeah? انقضاض الغضنفر على مذكرات, in which we have shown that there's a lie there, that this person, because he doesn't know how to work out, there was no Google at that time, no Sheikh Google to help him, he couldn't work out the time when Sheikh Muhammad Wahhab was there, in Hijri date, he couldn't work out how to lie and to match it in the solar system date. So he said he met him in such and such time. When we worked out in Hijri date, Sheikh Muhammad Wahhab has already left Iraq. He wasn't there. So that's a lie there. So those lies was introduced by the British, and unfortunately, they are a British person, and fortunately being spread by our brothers who are calling themselves Muslims. Fear Allah, brothers. Who amongst you now, tell me, who would say that I am a Wahhabi? Yalla. Please, who amongst you? If I ask now a gathering like this, who are for the Mu'tazila? Who amongst you is Mu'tazila? Everybody will say this. If I ask a group of HT, you know HT? Hizb al-Tahrir. Who amongst you calls himself Hizb al-Tahrir? They're going to say what? All of us. If I ask now, some people are from the Darbandis. Who amongst you would call himself a Darbandi? Who amongst you would call himself Ash'ari? Who amongst you would call himself Ikhwan, brotherhood? So I'm asking now, the ones who are called Wahhabi, they call them, now we don't call them. Who amongst you call himself Wahhabi? Because you come to a Wahhabi masjid, that's what I say. Well, put your finger up, please. Who will call you? Nobody. So this is called تنابز بالألقاب. ولا تنابز بالألقاب. When I say that this person is Ikhwani, I'm not making تنابز بالألقاب. I'm not calling your name because he is calling himself Ikhwani. When the Ash'ari says, I'm Ash'ari, when I call him Ash'ari, he is proud. He says, I'm Ash'ari, I'm Ikhwani, I'm Hizb al-Tahrir. He's proud of that. So when I'm saying that, I'm not belittling him, is it? So why is it you, brother, calling me Wahhabi when I'm not calling myself Wahhabi? Why? Why are you labeling me something? I am not really satisfied with that. Because you have just said to me Wahhabi, and believe me, one of my son here, he goes with some of the kids. As soon as they see him, he's a son of mine. You're a Wahhabi. Why? So your father is Wahhabi. So, question which is a rhetorical or an encountering question which has been alerted. Can you tell me what is Wahhabi, please? Well, my father told me. Wasn't the answer like this? Yes, answer? Yes, my father told me. My father told me. Okay, then he said, tomorrow I'll tell you why. He comes tomorrow, he doesn't tell him anything. Nothing, because his father doesn't know anyway. His father indoctrinated him, he had warned him already, he had immuned him by saying, Wahhabi. What is Wahhabi? Nothing. Somebody else. He's got a bit of knowledge. Not really knowledge, a bit, I would say, more ignorance. So he said, you're right, there's Wahhabi. I said, what do you mean by Wahhabi? He said, they pray like that. MashaAllah. So how the Prophet used to pray? Like that? How did he pray? Like this? Some people pray like that. Or like that. How did he pray then? Did he pray like this, Wahhabi? SubhanAllah. Right. Brother, this person, I was in the masjid of one of the Diabandi's masjid. I was praying and finished my prayer after the Maghrib. I saw a person praying the Sunnah. And he was praying very fast. Wallahi, ala ma aqulu shahid. After he finished prayer, I wanted to come. I came to him and I said, brother, and he's, I would say, above 40. Definitely. Gentleman. I said, brother, your prayer is a bit fast. It was really fast. I said, it's a bit fast. It's better to really slow down in the prayer. You just in your prayer. He looked at me and said, you must be Wahhabi. Wallahi. Wallahi. Who told him that? Who made him to say this? SubhanAllah, I'm advising you to say Wahhabi. But listen to me, brothers. I didn't say anything. So straight away, come to the Imam. The Imam was leading the prayer, which is I call it the supersonic prayer. As soon as he says, Sami Allah ibn Hamida, Sami Allah ibn Hamida, I don't find him in front of me. He's gone down. He's already in the sujood. I don't find him. So I was praying in this masjid, and this Imam wasn't there, so somebody else taking over. Could be his brother, could be, I don't know. So, Sami Allah ibn Hamida, Sami Allah ibn Hamida, he's gone down. I had to really catch up. I'm really not very fast. I'm not as agile as that person. But there was old men with me as well, old men. So after the prayer I went in, I took him and I said, please, the Imam before he was a bit slower, a bit fast, I'm not fit like you. And you've got old men. He said, no, the old men are complaining. You have to be fast, because you can't stand up for a long time. So, I said, SubhanAllah, the old people told you that. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Coming back to the topic, Wahhabi. There is no such thing called Wahhabi except in the mind of the person who likes to believe it, or except in the mind of those evil people who are indoctrinating other people that there is Wahhabi linked to Saudi Arabia. And look, our masjid and other masajid, they are the poorest masajid in the UK. Whereas the Darbandi masjid and the Brailwi masjid and all other masajid, mashallah, they're very big. I'm not saying there is a small masajid, but I'm just saying if we are linked to Saudi Arabia, if we are linked to the king, if we're linked to the kingdom, please show me. Wallahi, they don't pay a penny. Wallah. We have built our masjid there. We didn't take a penny from Saudi Arabia. It's all over from the pockets of all our brothers. The Pakistanis and the Indians, and all of them from ours. All of them they pay. Each one pledges 1,000, 500, 2,000, 5,000, 15,000 from the brothers, not from there. So why do you keep saying that? So fear Allah. I am not calling myself, why are you calling me my name? I am calling you Diabandi because you call yourself Diabandi. If you don't want Diabandi, I'm not going to call you Diabandi. I'm not going to call you Brailwi. But you are proud to say I'm Brailwi. Okay, you are brave, brother. And then, this is your name, but this is not my name. Now, Muhammad al-Wahhab, he is one of the mujaddideen, definitely of the 13th century. He died in the year 1206 of Hijrah. And by the way, we are in the 15th century. They say, for example, so-and-so is Mujaddid al-Qarn al-20, the person who made a revival of religion of the 20th century. Do you know why? Because they've come so far away from religion, they started counting into the Christian dates, not the Muslim dates. They're counting in 19, 2000, and so on and so forth. In Islam, we are only in the 15th century. Can anybody tell me now what is the date today? Yes? You don't know if you know that. Come on. I know. Yes? He was going to say a Christian day. When you would have said a Christian day, he's going to say today is going to be something July, the 17th, huh? Yeah, no? No, it's very hard. People start thinking now. It is the 27th of Sha'ban. So we got either 2 days to go or 3 days to go. Then after that, there will be Ramadan. Yes? Now, when do they know, the Muslims, about the Ramadan? Unfortunately, about the month of Islamic dates, is fortunately only when there is a Muslim occasion. Like the day of Arafah, like the month of Ramadan, like Ashura. They know nothing about that, about Islamic dates. All their salaries, all their timings, all of that in English, isn't it? In Christian dates. We should really now make ourselves familiarized with the Islamic dates and teach our children, because the month of Sha'ban is a great month that precedes the month of Ramadan. How many of you, they know, for example, that the Prophet ﷺ used to fast a lot in the month of Sha'ban? How many of you that you know, for example, there's a midnight of Sha'ban, and there's a great night which had passed, not the night of Shabarat, the night of Shabarat, which is they make this celebration and the fasting and the qiyam, or the bid'ah. But there is an excellence attached to that night. How many ones? Because they don't know the month of Sha'ban, they don't know. So we are in the 15th century. Imam Muhammad al-Wahhabi was the reviver of religion, Mujaddid al-Qarn. What is Mujaddid al-Qarn? Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says in the hadith of Abu Darda, قال يبعث الله على رأس كل 100 سنة من يجدد لهذه الأمة دينها. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at the beginning of every 100 years, every century, He would send a man, not a woman, a man. Prophets are men. Da'iyahs are men. I don't like the word women da'iyah. I don't like that. Men are the da'iyah. Women, they could call us out, cool, but da'iyah isn't to go and mix with men and set up stoves outside and start chatting with the men. I don't like that. قال يبعث الله رجل man من يجدد لهذه الأمة دينها. He would revive the religion for this ummah. So every beginning of every century, we know from the time of the Prophet of Allah until today, there is a mujaddid. And the mujaddid has to be fulfilling a number of conditions. One of them, he has to be living himself at the beginning of the century. That means he's alive. Number two, his knowledge is well spread, not just between 2 or 3 people, but the whole of the earth. Everybody knows about that person. Everybody knows about his fatawa. So for sure, for example, you know the beginning of the century, of this century, the 15th, was 33 years ago. 1400. Who was alive at that time and his knowledge was very spread? For me, it's obvious. Sheikh al-Bani, Sheikh al-Bani, Sheikh al-Uthaymeen. You bring me anybody else. If you said Hizb al-Tahrir Taqi al-Din Nabhani, he died before the century. I'm not going to discuss whether he's knowledgeable or not. That's beside the point. He died before the century. And the century before he wasn't born. Do you understand? He can't be a mujaddid. Then Hassan al-Banna, he died before that date. So he wasn't there. And Muhammad al-Dahlawi and all I'm going to count. So, for me, it is obvious. At the beginning of the 1400, it was Sheikh al-Albani, Sheikh al-Baz, Sheikh al-Uthaymeen. Their knowledge was well known. And these people are alive. I'm not saying that these only the 3 who revived the religion, but it's obvious for me that those are. Doesn't mean they are infallible. No, infallibility only to a person who's called Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As in a group, infallibility to the companions. لا تجتمع أمتي على ضلال. Prophet sallallahu said, my ummah will not be having agreement upon dalal, a mistake. No way. So the ummah is infallible in the companions as a group. as individual. And the ummah is infallible is in person of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is infallible. So there is no infallibility in Ibn Baz or Albani, no. But those are the ones who would set the guidelines for the manhaj, for the tawheed, for the aqidah. Manhaj, aqidah, this is the most important thing. And that is why we find that all the companions, they have one aqidah, one manhaj. All the renowned scholars, like Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam al-Shafi'i, Al-Imam Malik, Al-Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, all these four great imams, and with them Sufyan al-Thawri, and Sa'd al-Layth, and all of those imams, they had one aqidah. One aqidah. They differed in the fiqh issues like the companions had differed. The companions, they differed. Because the way to understand something, it is different. And that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's law in this universe. There's a difference. Like for example, when the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to his companions after the battle of the trench, which was there was no battle, but Allah Azza wa Jal had defeated the Confederates, and the Prophet of Allah laid down his arms, and then Jibreel alayhi salam, he said, "You laid down your arms?" He said, "Yes." He said, "We did not. These are angels." Where? We go into those traitors, Banu Qurayza. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said to the companions, لا يصلين أحدكم العصر إلا في بني قريظة. Nobody is to pray the Asr except where? In the tribes of Banu Qurayza. The companions, when they went, they had two groups, two understandings. Even it's the same text, one command from the Prophet. لا يصلين أحدكم العصر. Nobody is to pray the Asr except where? In Bani Qurayza. When the Asr came, some group prayed it, and they said, the Prophet of Allah, he meant by this that if we are already there in Qurayza and the Asr is there, we pray it. But we cannot jeopardize our prayer, we cannot jeopardize the time. With the other group, they said, no, we have to pray the Asr in Bani Qurayza, regardless if the time had passed the Asr and went into sunset. And they prayed it in Maghrib. So we had two understandings for one text. Between whom? The companions. And the Prophet ﷺ, he praised both. Yet, the ones who prayed the Asr on time, they were more correct. They praised both, because they were both made ijtihad. And the mujtahid, if he's got knowledge, is fluctuating between two rewards and one reward. That is, two rewards if he hits the target, one reward if he's mistaken. But you as an ignorant, if you make a guess regarding such an issue in religion, you fluctuate in between one or many sins. One sin, two sins, three sins. That doesn't matter, because you are ignorant. As for the scholar, Prophet ﷺ, إِذَا اجْتَهَدَ الْحَاكِمْ فَعَصَابَ فَلَهُ أَجْرَانِ. If the scholar had made ijtihad, he had made his effort to arrive to a conclusion, to a decision, but he hit the target, he was correct, then he's got two rewards. If he did not arrive to the target, he's got what? One reward. That is why the companions were rewarded. Also, our scholars, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad, they differed, but one aqidah, one methodology. All of them, they were the followers of the Salaf. All of them, they were in the aqidah of the Salaf. Radiallahu anhum wa ardahum wa rahimahumullah. So let's talk about, for example, the examples of the differences regarding some of the words, even some of the letters. For example, some of the words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَالْمُطَلَّقَاتِ يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ ثَلَاثَةَ قُرُوءٍ. Those women who are divorced by their husband, they should be in the iddah. And you should wait for the iddah period, which is 3 quru'. 3 quru' here, we had two different interpretations, two different understandings. Imam Abu Hanifa with Imam Ahmad, and Imam Malik and Imam Shafi. Some of them, they said quru' means 3 menstruations. The other one said, no, 3 cleansing periods. She has to wait. So, what is the difference here? The difference of the implementation, that this woman, how can she become a stranger? She's not a wife anymore. If we said 3 quru', 3 menstruations, meaning that when the woman, she hits the 3rd menstruation, she's what? She is totally stranger. Whereas if it's 3 cleansing periods, if that is between the 2 periods, you have, as soon as she hits the 3rd cleansing period, she is a stranger. So that makes a lot of difference. And the correct opinion, of course, is 3 menstruation. I'm not going to go into this issue. I'm just saying that we have one text from Allah, which is from the Qur'an, yet the understanding differed. Why? Because the difference of understanding. Because the language in itself takes double meanings as well. I'll tell you, for example, some of you in the letters. Prophet Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. In the wudu says, وَامْسَحُوا, and wipe بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. B in Arabic, it could be زائدة, but it could be للتبعيض, some of your heads. That means wipe, and he's emphasizing your head, wipe your head. And the other interpretation, which Shafi'i had understood it, which is wipe part of your head. And that's why the Shafi'i, they teach their people that to wipe, you could wipe with one finger, no problem. One finger like this, wipe it. Because it's biru'usikum. So here we have one letter. In the Qur'an, we had what? Two interpretations. That is quietly, alhamdulillah, we could see it, and it's really obvious, and they could differ. Also we have differences regarding, for example, the wali. You have, the ahnaf, they make the marriage without a wali. And other scholars who are the Jumhur, Imam Malik, Imam Ahmad, Imam Shafi'i, said you have to have a wali. Why? Because of some of the text that has not arrived to the Imam Abu Hanifa. Some of the hadith did not arrive to him because he was in the time where the hadith yet to be written, yet to be flying around. And that is why Imam Abu Hanifa had made so many verdicts upon opinions, nothing to do with the text. There's no athar. So Imam Abu Hanifa, when he differs with Imam Shafi'i, when he differs with Imam Malik, when he differs with Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, they are scholars, they fluctuating between two rewards and one reward, whereas the blind followers, they are all the time upon the sin. What is a blind follower? The blind follower is the person who is capable to look into the athar, and look into the text, and look into the proof, yet he shows reference and so much caliber to his scholar more than the text from Allah and His Messenger. So if, for example, Imam al-Shafi'i, when he said, وَإِذَا لَمَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ, Allah Azza wa Jalla says that when you touch the women, then فَتَيَمَّمُوا صَعِيدًا طَيِّبًا, make tayammum. Here, لَمَسْتُم here means, in the Qur'an, means jima'. What is what? Intercourse. Imam al-Shafi'i said, even touching the women, it will invalidate your wudu. So now, Shafi'i, if he heard about the hadith, which Imam Ahmad had quoted in his Sunnah, and remember Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal is younger than Imam Shafi'i, and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal is the most knowledgeable amongst the four Imams in the hadith. He is more knowledgeable than Imam Malik, and Imam Shafi'i, and Imam Abu Hanifa. Why? Because at his time he had compiled the Musnad. He was the Sheikh of al-Bukhari, Sheikh al-Imam Muslim. He was a Sheikh, and he compiled a book which is called Musnad, in which there's 27,000 hadiths. Rahimahullah. Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah. So he used to be a student to Imam Shafi'i as well. But Imam Shafi'i acknowledges that he was more knowledgeable than him in hadith. So he says to Ahmad, oh Ahmad, if you heard about the hadith, because you used to travel to Iraq and Bilad al-Sham and Syria and Egypt, if you have the hadith coming, Iraqi, Egyptian, hadith you quote it from there, please tell us the hadith so we could act upon it. We could make fatwa upon it. Tell us about the hadith. Now he did not hear the hadith of Imam Ahmad when he said, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ الْقُبْلَةَ لَا تُفَطِّرُ الصَّائِمِ وَلَا تُنْقِضُ الْوُضُوءِ. Verily the kiss, never mind the touch. The kiss does not invalidate your wudu, nor it will, the kiss of course to your wife, not to the strangers, that is haram. It does not invalidate the wudu, it's haram. The kiss, the kiss, it will not invalidate your wudu, nor it will invalidate your fast. If Imam Shafi'i heard about this hadith from Imam Ahmad, do you think he would still insist upon saying, if you touch the woman, it will invalidate your wudu? No, wallah, he will not. Because he said to his student, you are more knowledgeable than me in hadith. Please, if you have the hadith, tell me the Prophet of Allah, and then I will act upon it. But he did not hear about the hadith. He stuck with the verse, and that verse, lamastum, carries two meanings. Lamastum, lams, touch, and lamastum, jima', which is intercourse. So, Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah, he did not have the hadith to explain for him. And that is why the great Imam Sheikh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he had made a book. I'm sure it was translated as well into English. رَفْعُ الْمَلَامِ عَنِ الْأَئِمَّةِ الْأَعْلَامِ, the best of books. That is to lift the blame away from those great scholars. No blame upon them. There's no blame upon them to differ with one another. One says you have to have a wali, and the other says no wali. One he says, for example, blood will, if it comes out, it will invalidate your wudu, and another one says no. And one would say touching the woman will invalidate your wudu, the other one says that. It doesn't. So there's no blame upon them. The blame is upon those who are blind followers. Until today, they know that this is a mistake. They've got the hadith in front of them. إِنَّ الْقُبْلَةَ لَا تُفَطِّرُ الصَّائِمِ. They say, no touching will, because they're Shafi'i. And they'll say, I will die as a Shafi'i. And they were Shafi'i, radiyallahu anhu. He made him a companion. I am Shafi'i and I die as Shafi'i. So ask this Shafi'i person, what is the name of the Shafi'i? Huh? Shafi'i? No. That's this title, Shafi'i at the end. What is his name? He doesn't know. I'm talking not the scholars, I'm talking about those affiliated to Shafi'i. They say, Madhabi Shafi'i. I'll tell you what, you know the Hanafis, most of them, you know, the ones who come to Pakistan, Hanafi. Ask him, what is the name of Abu Hanifa? Ask him. He doesn't know. I'm not talking about ask the Imam. Maybe the Imam knows a bit, not a lot, bit. But ask those people, the normal people. They don't know. Tell them, can you just tell me, name me one book that Abu Hanifa had wrote? Just one book. He doesn't know. Tell me Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, did he meet Imam Malik or not? He doesn't know. Tell me one of the students of Imam Abu Hanifa. He doesn't know. The same thing with the Shafi'is. They don't know. So what do they know? They know from Abu Hanifa. They know from Abu Hanifa that you cannot wipe over the sock, you have to wipe over the khuf. You become a Hanafi like that. So wiping over the khuf, that's Hanafi. They know from Abu Hanifa, for example, that if the person discharges blood, then his wudu is what? Is invalid. That's only for Abu Hanifa. That's 2 or 3 matters. The same with the Shafi'is. What do you know about Shafi'i? I'm Shafi'i, I make qunut in the Fajr. And when I touch my woman, that's it. I have to what? Make wudu. And I have seen that, you know, in our country, it was the Shafi'i. When a woman, she wants to shake the hand of her husband, because he comes to the prayer, she put it behind like this. So she shakes her hand. And now they're standing and doing that between husband and wife. No. Strangers as well. So she's not worried about touching, she's worried about her wudu. She doesn't know that touching is haram anyway. That is, it is better for a person to have a nail stuck to his head rather than to shake the hand of a woman who is not lawful to him. But she puts her hand like that. Just, you know, because she doesn't want to make wudu again. Subhanallah. And Qunut al-Fajr. You know what Qunut al-Fajr? In the Fajr, second rak'ah. Have you ever prayed in a Shafi'i masjid? Huh? They pray in the second rak'ah of the Fajr. Every Fajr has to do what? Qunut. And this Qunut, based upon a hadith which is unauthentic, I'm not going to go into the details, but that's what they wrote. What is the Malikis? When you say Maliki, what is the Maliki? What is he labeling himself Maliki? In what way is distinguishing himself from the Shafi'i and the Hanafi and the Hanbali? Can anybody tell me? He says Maliki. He prays like that. With hands down. Tell me what's the Imam Malik name? I don't know. Can you tell me what is the Imam Malik book? I don't know. Some of his students, I don't know. So why are you Maliki? I just put your hand like this. That's it. I call myself Maliki. So I do like this, I'm Maliki. Now, it is a dilemma. It is something that is not really easy. It is very dangerous. When the Prophet ﷺ, he says, إذا تبايعتم بالعينة وأخذتم أذناب البقر ورضيتم بالزرع وتركتم الجهاد سلط الله عليكم ذلا لا ينزعه عنكم حتى ترجعوا إلى دينكم. If you trade in عينة is type of riba, and hold on to the tail of the cows, and keep yourself to agriculture, that means you keep yourself to dunya, and you abandon jihad with all types, jihad with the sword, jihad with the pen, jihad with the tongue, all types of jihad, and you abandon jihad, Allah will bestow upon you dhul, humiliation, and that is the humiliation we're living in. Come on, are you living in triumph these days? Wallahi, we are in humiliation. No matter what you're going to say to me, we are so much humiliated. As an ummah, subhanallah. Islam is there, but we have, failed. We have failed our ummah. I'm not talking about you, brothers. I'm talking about the majority of this ummah. Is the majority of the ummah upon the haqq? They're not. قال, and then he says, وَتَرَكْتُمُ الْجِهَادِ Allah will bestow upon you humiliation, which will not be lifted until you go back to your religion. Okay, we want to go back to our religion for the sake of removing this humiliation. What type of religion are we going to go back to? religion with the understanding of the Hanafi, or the Shafi'i, or the Maliki, or the Hanbali. Imagine now, yes, that we're going to have Khalifa. MashaAllah, we establish a Khilafah. We put this Khalifa. What is the law is going to be? Is it going to be based upon Hanbali, or Shafi'i, or Hanafi? Because if you put in Hanafi, the Hanbalis will say, no, we don't want to. If you put in Hanbali, Hanafi will say, no, we don't want to. You're really thinking I'm not joking? I'm joking? Wallahi, not a long time, less than 100 years ago, the Haram itself, Mecca, it had 4 places in the Kaaba for 4 prayers, for 5 daily prayers. They used to have 20 jama'ah every day. Do you understand what I'm saying? 20 jama'ah. That is, there's a pulpit, I've got a drawing of it, pulpit of the Malikis, pulpit of the Shafi'is, pulpit of the Hanafis, pulpit of the Hanbalis. Those people who are affiliated with Abu Hanifa, they will not pray behind a person who's from Imam Malik affiliation, or from Imam Abu Hanifa Malik, or Imam Ahmad, or Imam Shafi'i. No. Same thing and vice versa. 4 prayers for each prayer. That's 20 prayers a day in Jama'ah. Do you think we're going to unite ourselves like this? No. It's a disaster. It's not really easy. That is why I'm just saying blind following is a symptom, is a disease. Blind following makes the people kill one another. It is in the books. I'm not talking even just about the ignorant people. It is in the books. There are books that are there. A'udhu billah. If you read this, what type of book is this? One of them is called Maraq al-Falah. Regardless whether it's Hanafi or Hanbali, it's a Hanafi book. But in that book, if you read, you'll be amazed. Is this a Muslim had done this book? For example, they say that if a dog had fallen into a well and died, what do? He said, you take the dog out, you either fertilize the land with it, or you give it to a Shafi'i follower. That's on the book. So they treat them what? Like kuffar. More than that. There was a dispute amongst the Hanafis. Should we marry from them and marry from us? Look, they treat them as kuffar. Why? Because the Shafi'i follower, they say, Ana mu'min insha'Allah. I'm a believer insha'Allah. Abu Hanifa, the follower, they say, oh, Ana mu'min insha'Allah, that means you have doubt, you are a kafir. And by the look at it, you could say, Ana mu'min insha'Allah. Ana mu'min insha'Allah. But that was it, you're doubting your iman, you're a kafir. So, you cannot marry from them, and they cannot marry from us. But, there was a mufti came. They call him Mufti Thaqalain. The one who gives fatwa for not just mankind, to jinn as well. At this time, Mufti Thaqalain. He said, I found a solution. What? He said, we will make it allowed for the Hanafi male to marry from the Shafi'iyya female, but not the Shafi'i male from the Hanafiyya female. So we treat them like the people of the book. So this is the best he came up with. We treat the Shafi'is the people of the book. It is in that book. You find people, for example, they travel from the west to the east, the west where the Malikis, and they move their fingers in the prayer. Sometimes they move in a, I would say, an odd way, a strange way, like that. Irritating way, because round, because it's a kind of, like this. Some people, they do like this as well. Some people do like that. Some people like this. A person I've seen them do like this. Pulling a gun. So this person is moving it like that. And a person who's a Hanafi, you know that if you move 3 movements, the prayer is what? Invalid. They warned him. They ended up chopping his finger off. That is in the books. In the book as well you find so many things that would make the person think this is not the religion of Allah. It can't be. In that book, you find, for example, and the best book to read about this, a book called Bid'atul Ta'assub al-Hanafi, or Manar al-Hanif, which is the book of Ibn Qayyim. Bid'atul Ta'assub al-Hanafi is for Muhammad ibn Abbasi, the student of Sheikh al-Albani, rahimahullah. This book is a great book. In it, he quotes all of these things. He says that, you know for a fact that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Alaykum bil Jama'ah. What time is it?
20 minutes.
Okay, 20?
20 minutes for about. It's at 9:30.
9:30 is okay. Right. That is, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Alaykum al-jama'ah, hold on to the jama'ah. If the jama'ah is on, then the one who leads, if there is no imam ratib, the one who leads, aqra'ukum bi kitabillah, the one who knows more about the book of Allah. If they are in the recitation the same, a'lamukum bis sunnah, the one who knows about sunnah the most. If they are in the sunnah the same, then aqdamukum hijrah, the one who migrated first. If they were in the same, migration here could be migration from Mecca to Medina, or migration as well from your sins to your iman. That means your commitment to Islam. And fourth one, if you are the same, then the one who leads the prayer, the one who is older in age. So we've got now 4 categories in which Allah Azza wa Jal told His Prophet to make it as a criterion by which who is going to lead the prayer. Do we need more than that? I'm asking.
No.
Is it enough or not is enough?
Enough.
Regardless how many people were in here, whether it's 1,000, 100,000, or even 3-4 people. 3-4 people they want to lead. Which one? Oh yeah, you are, mashallah, you're the one who most recited. We all of us have a Qur'an. Say, oh, you know Bukhari. I don't know Bukhari more than you. Have a Bukhari. Oh, you know all of us the Bukhari. Say, oh well, which one had created the Islam, came to Islam first? Oh, all of us on the same day. Okay, same. Who's older than age? Can it be the same date of birth? Now look at these books that come with this. So, they think they are good ideas. If they are, now this is not from the Prophet. This is from these people who are blind followers to our scholars and imams. If they are the same, then the one who's got the biggest head. So now they are equal in Qur'an, equal in Sunnah, and equal in the same day that they have committed Islam, and equal in the date of birth. Now, who's the one? Who's the biggest head? Who's the biggest head? It will be more senior. So now we're going to measure the tape, start. If they are the same still, it could be. If they are the same, the one who's got the most beautiful wife. That's in the book. I'm not making them up. So we're going to have queens of beauty now. Line up the wives. Do you know why? They've got us a reason why. Because you've got the most beautiful wife, you will lower your gaze. MashaAllah. What a way to think. Lower your gaze. You don't look because you've got a beautiful wife. You're not going to look. So you're more pious. So you need the prayer. Subhanallah. La ilaha illallah. But still, if they are the same, so somebody decide, oh, your wife's the same beauty, brothers. You have to go to another criterion. You know what it is? La hawla wa la quwwata. The smallest private part. Now you think of how you're going to measure that. Do you know why? Because he will have more chastity, more pious. He will not think of the haram. Wallahi, this book I want to burn it. This book, when you read it, like one of the Muslim, Sheikh Mashhur was telling us, there was in the university, there was a woman who embraced Islam, and she's just studying now fiqh of Islam. And in the books there, is it allowed to eat human flesh? And they're going into this issue. Why are they going into this? She almost left the religion because of such fiqh, which they call it crooked fiqh. It's not upright fiqh, crooked fiqh. And then they go into where it's not allowed. It's okay if you eat from the finger and that. What is this? What is this? What is type of fiqh is this? And it's in our books. So that's why our Sheikh al-Albani came with the revival of the religion. We have to filterize all these books from all this rubbish. That's rubbish, I call it. We have to take all of that away. For verily, we want our Khalifa to judge and rule by the law of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not by the rules affiliated to Abu Hanifa. You know that the Hanafis, they go as far as that if Isa alayhi salam is going to come down, he's going to come down again, he's going to rule by that madhab of the Hanafi. Abu Hanifa. La ilaha illallah. If you read in the biography which is being put to Abu Hanifa by the ones or scholars who are followers of Abu Hanifa, they say he cannot be a man. He has to be a prophet or better than a prophet. That he one day, they say, for example, he prayed all night in Mecca, in the Kaaba, inside it, all night on one leg. It's in the book. Allah, al-insaf. On one leg. What type of prayer is this on one leg? And then after that, Allah came to him and he called him, my slave, what do you want? anything that you want. This is in the books. No wonder why we cannot go back to triumph until we filterize our religion from such things like that. We need to come to the haqq. Wherever it is, it could be with Abu Hanifa, it could be with Imam Malik. All of these scholars, they have one aqidah, one methodology. All of them, they were Salafis. All of them. But in terms of fiqh, they were different because of a number of reasons. Some of them, they did not know the hadith, but the other scholar knew it. Some of them, they got the same hadith, but it's different narrators. His narrators were authentic, another one is not authentic. Another one who found it authentic, but another person came and said, no, there is a illah there. He didn't know that this person did not hear from that person. And that's how they differed. Wallahi, Imam Abu Hanifa, he told his student, Abu Yaqub Yusuf, main student, premier student, he was writing. He said, what are you writing? I'm writing what you say, Imam. He said, don't write. We people say something today, we change our mind the following day. SubhanAllah. Abu Hanifa is telling his student, if you write something, I'm a human being, I make a mistake. Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah, he got the most beautiful sayings, Imam Shafi'i, most beautiful sayings. One of them is that a person came to him, Muhammad ibn Isa Shafi'i, rahimahullah, Imam, what do you think of such and such? I want to ask you. Tamattu' in the Hajj. He said, the Prophet ﷺ said so and so. He said to him, no, but what do you say? So Imam was enraged. أرأيتني خارجا من كنيسة أرأيت في وسط زنارة أقول لك قال الله قال رسول تقول ماذا أقول. Do you see me coming out of a church? Do you see me coming up rope with the middle, the rope for the priest? I've seen قال Allah, Allah said, the Prophet said, what do I say? Who am I? If you see my opinion different from the opinion of the hadith of the Prophet of Allah, and I'm still alive, then accuse me, my brain. Something wrong here. Accuse me. Do you understand that? No. If I am alive and still saying something which contradicts the Prophet of Allah, and I know it, then means something wrong with my mind. Accuse my mind. And that is why we say, those blind followers, they should not be blind, should be followers. Not blind, should be followers. If you want to be a blind follower, to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. You want to be a blind follower, to the companions as a whole. But any individual apart from them, you cannot be a blind follower to any, even to Abu Bakr and his own, you can't be a blind follower. But to as a companions as a whole, yes. Why? Imam al-Shafi'i, rahimahullah, when he was asked regarding the issue of ijma', how do you prove the ijma'? He said, give me some time. It took 3 days. And he studied and he studied. Then he came out. I found it. It's in the book of Allah. وَمَنْ يُشَاقِقِ الرَّسُولِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ الْهُدَى وَيَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. That is he who opposes the messenger of Allah after guidance was shown to him and follows other than the path of the believers. This is the ijma'. This is the consensus. The ijma' al-sahaba, Allah says, and follow other than the path of the believers. And he did not say after guidance was shown to him, like he said, when you follow other than the path of the Prophet. Because the guidance of the companions is a guidance in itself. It doesn't need a proof. Just follow the companions. In their unanimous decision. لا تجتمعون. And that is from their decision. There is no خروج على ولاة الأمر. وإن جاروا وإن ظلموا. And from their consensus, you should not make khuruj on your leaders. If they are tyrant, or if they are bad, as long as they're Muslims, you cannot make khuruj on them. And that's a consensus. Hold on to that consensus. And you'll be holding to the haqq. You'll be holding to the peace. You'll be holding to the right and correct methodology. Wallahi, if these people knew about the manhaj of the Salafi, they will know that the Salafi manhaj is a salvation. They will know there will be no disaster and killing in such and such country, in another country, because they're not following the manhaj. That is the consensus of the scholars. No khuruj upon the leaders, even if he lashes his back, even if he takes your money. Nothing. You should really just ask for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fix them. And as the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, give them their rights, which is to hear and obey, and ask your right from Allah. Oh Allah, help me, oh Allah. But don't say anything regarding them. Don't make the people to hate your leaders, and then end up killing your leader, and then end up there is no security. True or not? I'm asking. If you remember what disasters took place in all these countries, Let's start with Iraq at that time. Do you think we are able now at the moment to give a gathering like this, a talk? Like we're giving it here, to give it in Iraq, in one of the Shia states? Would we be able to do that? No chance. They would be killed. Huh? And that's why some of the people, they carry double IDs. One ID says Umar, and the other ID says Ali. If he's caught by the Shia, he will give Ali. If he's caught by the Sunnah, he will call, my name is Umar. Because if he found his Umar and he's caught by the Shia, they kill him straight away. That's what happened in Iraq. So here, alhamdulillah, we have security, and this is because of the British government. It's because of their army. It's because of their police. We have security. In that country, they have no security. You can't give this talk like this. In Syria, in Egypt, in all of these countries, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect our people. But I'm just saying, when these people make the mistake, that those people who had made it before, they're going to end up like Sheikh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah saying, لا دين أقاموا ولا دنيا أبقوا. They did not establish their religion that they wanted to establish, nor they established their dunya, they hope for it. More disaster. The country is in debt. People being killed. And what is the religion? Nothing. The religion has established nothing. Same. Even worse. Whatever you look. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make our brothers who are not knowledgeable to make them fiqh. And this is the dua of our Sheikh ibn Baz rahimahullah. Allahumma faqqih hadhihi al-umma fi dinha. Oh Allah, make this ummah understand their religion. Because if they understand their religion, we are in triumph. Most important. So, and we as well, as people who are following the haqq, we have a task upon our shoulder. This task is to deliver this message with as nice as possible. Because verily, there are some people who are being labeled to be Salafis, and they have given the wrong impression of us. We've been labeled terrorist, isn't it? Because such and such was jihadi called Salafi. We've been labeled as well harsh, because such and such person, he was giving the da'wah by hitting and kicking and shoving. So we have a task here. It is a very big task, and it is patience. To tell the people, we're not like that. We are holders of peace. In our country there's a saying, if somebody drinks a soup, it's hot, and he's been burnt with it, and he thinks even the very cool yogurt to be what? Hot. So we are the cool yogurt. But because they have tasted some of the soup and burnt them, they think that the yogurt is going to burn them. Because some of our clan failed us, and they have, did this bomb, they think that we are bombers as well. We are peaceful people. Our message is our tongue. Our message, and you are in this country, you have entered this country. If you have a nationality, you have signed. Yes? If you have a residence, you have signed. If you came as a visitor, you have signed, and you have to fulfill your signature. You can't betray. And also, you have a task towards your brothers from those Taiwanese, just next door, or Brailleys. It is the best way is to call them. They label you, doesn't matter. They don't know. They don't know, bit by bit. لَأَن يَهْدِيَ اللَّهُ بِكَ رَجُلًا. For Allah to guide one through you. خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنْ حُمُرِ النَّعَمِ. It's better for you that there's red camels. خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا وَمَا فِيهَا. Better than the whole dunya. So, with your nice tongue, as the Prophet ﷺ, he was even nice with those people who had passed death upon him. The Jews. The Jews, when they came to the Prophet of Allah, and Aisha was behind the veil. Assalamu alaikum, death upon you. Sam means death, salam means peace. So they twisted it. Assalamu alaikum, death upon you. So the Prophet said, wa alaikum, and upon you. Second one, death upon you, and upon you. But Aisha couldn't hold herself. She said, Assalamu alaikum, death upon you. May Allah curse you, the brothers of the monkeys and the pigs. إخوان الكرام والخنازير. So the Prophet said, calm down, Aisha. No, it's not like that. They have said, look what I did, I returned it. And peace upon, and on you. Death upon, and on you, khalas. Why should I go and curse and things like this? But she was, I would have maybe done the same. If it was the same, because they are insulting my Prophet. It's not her Prophet as well, it's her husband. The brothers of the monkeys and pigs. She said, no, that's not right. So, And you should not be insulting the people's religion because they insult your religion. A person incurs insult upon his Lord by insulting other people's Lord, other people's religion, and insult your Lord. So be careful. You have a task upon you to be patient. Patience and tolerance, those are the Iman. For the Prophet ﷺ was asked, what is Iman? قال الصبر والسماح. Look at that. Iman. Not to talk about the Iman and Allah and the angels and the books and the destiny. No. He said الصبر والسماحة. Sabr, patience. Samaha, tolerance. If you are tolerant and you have patience, nobody will take his neighbor to court or his friend to court for a single dispute, isn't it? There will be tolerance and there will be patience. Jazakumullah khairan for listening. Inshallah, after the prayer, we will have questions and answers. Questions if you want in Ramadan as well, we'll go ahead with it. Even we'll give a little reminder about Ramadan. Barakallahu feekum wa ahsanallahu ilaykum. The one who starts with the salam. Start just with salam. Salamu alaikum. He doesn't expect you to remove all that sort of, enragement in your heart because he sold you the car. Please invite me in the house. No, just say salam. Because Allah knows from yourself that you're not going to be able to forget something that happened in 3 days like that and you're going to hug him and just say salam. No hugging, nothing, not even shaking the hands. Just salam, that will cool off the matter. If you have this, then you are qualified to have the forgiveness from Allah. But if you haven't done it, you're not qualified to have forgiveness. Not in the midnight of Sha'ban, but also in every single night the deeds are lifted and they are presented to Allah, which is Monday and Thursday. Where Allah have these deeds lifted up to Him, every Monday and Thursday, He would say forgive, and He would look two people in the spirit, da'huma, to the angel, leave them, akhirhuma, delay them, until they settle with one another. So you're not going to have any forgiveness if you have a dispute with your brothers, especially your next of kin, your relatives. If you have a dispute, a'udhu billah, how can you boycott them? So you should be, say salamu alaikum. Say salamu alaikum, and inshallah we'll put off the door. So if you have this, and remember on the day of resurrection, those people who enter paradise, Allah says, وَنَزَعْنَا مَا فِي صُدُورِهِم مِّن غِلٍّ إِخْوَانًا عَلَى سُرُرٍ مُتَقَابِلِينَ. We have removed from their heart whatever is ghil. Ghil here, malice, grudge, envy. In paradise, some people are going to have bigger mansions than the others, bigger gardens than the others, more virgins of paradise than the others. So there is no envy there. So there's nobody that says, I wish your car crashes. There doesn't happen there. Or he holds a nail, scratches his car. Doesn't happen there. Maybe it happens in this dunya, but in the hereafter, there is no ghil. Each قال على سرر إخوانا على سرر. They are brothers on couches opposite one another. So those ones who enter paradise will enter paradise clean from that. If you clean your heart from the grudge and the malice and any hatred to your brothers, you're guaranteed paradise, regardless of how little is your worship. How little is your worship. And I'll end up before I give another opportunity for another question. This hadith, which is narrated in Muslim and Ahmad, that the Prophet ﷺ was with the companions, and Anas is narrating this hadith. Anas is the servant of the Prophet of Allah who served him for 10 years. So radiallahu anhu wa Allah, he said, the Prophet ﷺ said, يَطْلُعُ عَلَيْكُمُ الْآنَ رَجُلٌ مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ. A person from the people, inhabitants of paradise will come out. So the companions, they're waiting. They thought it was going to be Abu Bakr or Umar. Yeah, there's known people. Somebody that don't even know his name. The hadith does not mention his name because Allah doesn't know him. A person from the normal companions, but they don't know him. He's not from the senior companions. He has his beard dripping off from wudu, the water, and he's got his shoe underneath his, because of he had taken his sandals off. And nothing special about it. Second day, when the Prophet ﷺ, they said, يَطْلُوا عَلَيْكُمُ الْآنَ رَجُلٌ مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ. A person from the people of paradise will come out. They waited. It's the same man. The same way. It's been dripping on. Third day, happened. Prophet ﷺ said, he will come out. He came out the same man. There's a companion called Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As. This companion is known to strive in ibadah. So much that he even wanted to take permission from the Prophet of Allah to read the Qur'an in less than 3 days. The whole of the Qur'an. He said, no. You can't comprehend it. You can't understand it. So Abdullah ibn Amr al-As, was jealous. Why is jealous? Jealous because he wanted to do like jealous, which is good. This is jealousy is good. Good jealousy. He wanted to be, why? I haven't had Prophet saying that I'm going to be in paradise 3 times. So he wanted to see what the man does. So he followed him. And the man entered the house. He prepares a plan. He makes up a story. He wants to get inside, which is not true. So he knocks on the door, comes out, he said, brother, I have made a dispute with my father, and I made an oath not to enter his house, not to sleep in his house for 3 nights. So can you just give me shelter, please, brother? Yeah, no problem, come inside. All of that made up. So you could have shelter, so you could stay inside and see what the person does. So you could imitate and emulate. He went inside. It looks like that person hasn't got no wife, because you could describe everything what goes on the bed. He said, I haven't seen anything special. No prayer night, no qiyam, nothing. Also, he says, Allahu Akbar, he goes to the front, Allahu Akbar. But he said, 3 days had passed and I haven't heard him say anything except he had nothing came out of his mouth except for good. Nothing. But, كدت أن أحتقر عمله, أن أستصغر عمله. And I felt that his deeds and his ibadah is insignificant. Nothing. Like him, for example, he days plus a day, prays the other day, prays the Qur'an every 3 days. So it's not in the qiyam all night. Subhanallah. Then he went to the man. He said, brother, I lied. I did not have a dispute with my father. I made this up just to make sure that I want to copy you, because I've heard the Prophet ﷺ saying 3 times regarding yourself that a person will come from the people of paradise, and you came out the 3 times. What is that distinguishes you from us? He said, just what you have seen. So he had about to leave. He said, no, there's something, maybe it is, that is, I don't feel in my heart. لا أجد في نفسي غشا لأحد من, I don't find any cunning, no betrayals, غش, cheating to any Muslim. ولا أحسد أحدا على خير أعطاه الله. And I don't envy any brother for Allah has given him some good. He said, this is the one that got you to that place in paradise, and this is the one that we can't do. Who say that? Abdullah ibn Abbas. We can't do. Me and you coming to this masjid, huh? And I come with my old banger, and you come with your own old banger. The following day you find me in a Lamborghini. Can you hold yourself saying, how can you have a Lamborghini? Where did it come from? This Porsche, where did it come from? I wish it crashes. Huh? Can you hold yourself to say, at least, oh, I should have one as well, the same thing? Or he came with a bicycle, suddenly he's got a car. How can you hold yourself? If you hold yourself from that, paradise is your guarantee. Is your destiny, inshallah, as the Prophet ﷺ said to them. Now.
I just wanted your opinion and advice on this unity pledge thing amongst us.
Before the unity, for the brother, for the question of the Sha'ban, where's the brother? He's gone. Right. Just to make sure that we don't do any special ibadah on that night. Because people do shabarat. Yes. Shabarat means qiyam during the night, following daily big fasting. There is no special ibadah. What should you do? Just sleep. That's all. All you have to do, no shirk, no hatred in your heart. Settle your disputes. Khalas. And sleep. Do what you do every night. No special mind. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guarantee the promises. Now.
Yes, we seem to have this problem amongst our Sufi brothers with this unity pledge thing. Earlier on you mentioned about the Sufis, the Wahhabis, the Wahhabis and everything. I think this is some sort of kind of pledge everybody signs where they get on with each other or they agree upon some aspects, but there is a problem. Maybe something similar as Ziauddin Sadat may try to introduce in 2006 and try to bring everybody together, but he kind of fell on its back. But because of people trying to come together on some form of methodology, it's creating sort of problems amongst some of the sheikhs, or the people that have come under these organizations, which people are starting to refute, even though the methodology is correct.
Well, first of all, I need to, I don't know if you have the question or not, but first of all, let me understand the question. You're saying that why we have a dispute as well among the Salafis, basically. First of all, let me just tell you that how the Muslim was ignorant, doesn't know, how he looks at the situation. He sees you just like he considers you the same as the Darandis and the Ikhwanis and the Tahriris and the Muhajirun. He sees you the same thing. For him, as an ignorant person, he doesn't treat you differently. It is like as our Sheikh al-Halabi stated. For example, this is the wall, and all of it, for example, it's white. And the white color represents the Islam in its purity, as it came from the Prophet Muhammad SAW. A group came and they made a color for themselves, red. Another group colored themselves blue. Another group green, Sufi green, blue, Tahrira. Another group, and there is in the middle some patches of white. Person looking at that, he thinks the white is another color. That somebody had made himself a white, but actually he had stayed. Let me just lock the door. Noise is no good with this lecture. People looking from outside, he think this is a color that these people made as well their own hizb, but actually they stayed upon the what? The roots of the matter, the foundation of the matter. So Ahlul Salaf, the ones who stick to what the companions were upon, no doubt about that. And those Salaf are headed by Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, down to Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali, and to the rest of the 10 companions giving life in paradise, to the rest of the companions whom had fought in the Battle of Badr and Bay'at al-Ridwan, and as the scholars have discussed, and every single person who had met the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whether he saw him or did not see him, just met him, he could be blind, and believed in him and died upon Islam, is a companion. Now the dispute is taking place in between the brothers. First of all, there's whims and desires. And there are brothers, unfortunately, they treat us even more severe than they treat the Ahlul Bid'ah. So we've gotten a classification within our clans. Super diesel Salafi, unleaded Salafi, jihadi Salafi, tahriri, classical Salafi. Lots of division, isn't it? Super ones are the super ones. And it's not super ones. So I don't know which part we are belonging to. And this depends upon these classification of people who have no knowledge. As for our scholars, who differ with one another, it's still our scholars. They leave the difference amongst them. They will sort with each other. You don't take a stand upon this difference. Do you understand that? Yes. So if one scholar has said something regarding another scholar, you keep aside, you don't really side with this scholar or side with that scholar. You keep to the knowledge. You want the knowledge. As some of the scholars said, لا تجعلوا سوء خلقنا يصدكم عن أخذ ما في صدورنا. Don't make our bad manners that comes out sometimes from us to prevent you from taking the knowledge that is in our hearts. Sometimes they're human beings. These people, they dispute with one another. But don't let that to block you from taking that knowledge. So you take the knowledge and don't side with this and don't side with that. And as our Imam for this era now, after the death of the three major Sheikh, Abdul Muhsin Abbad, Hafidahullah, he made a small treatise. He called it, and it's been translated, one of my brothers, Rifqan Ahli Sunnati Ahli Sunnah. Easy people of Sunnah with the people of the Sunnah. Why do you treat you people of the Sunnah the same you treat the Muqtadi'ah? How can you do that? Rifqan Ahli Sunnati Ahli Sunnah. It's a treatise which has been translated. I urge everybody on the internet to read it. And that is to show you that we have to be very careful when it comes to let go of our tongue against a scholar. You can't do that. For very those scholars, they are representatives of the Prophet. They are the one who sign on behalf of the Prophet. They are the one who sign on behalf of Allah. إعلام الموقعين عن رب العالمين. This is a book by Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah. It means those are the ones who sign on behalf of Allah. Because when they give you a fatwa, they sign on behalf of what? Of Allah. So those ones have to be respected, regardless of their shortcomings. Respected to our scholars. They're from Ahlul Salaf. We respect them. They have a dispute amongst each other. Inshallah, Allah will fix it. But you as a person, hook on to the haqq. The haqq. Don't hook on to the batil. So, unfortunately, this is the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is, there will be a dispute. And you yourself, a brother, you as a person, always gain the knowledge. And that's what we teach the people, the knowledge. Teach them the haqq. And then they themselves, they know the batil. I'm not going to come here and say, don't listen to that, and don't listen to this, don't listen to that, don't listen to this. And then one person doesn't mean, who can I listen to? Because you gave me the don'ts, lots of them. Give me one do. So I know, listen to me, that's it. No, brother. Alhamdulillah, there is scholars there. We don't lock the door. We don't want people, brothers, to be inside this house of Salafiyah. When we bring somebody to Salafiyah, this person, bring him from the door, he chuck him out of the window. We bring a Salafi from the door, he chuck him out of the window. No, brother. And the Salafiyah is a big house. It's not a small, it's a big, it's Islam in itself. It's a big one. So some people, they treat it as a partisan. It is not a partisan. It is the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And unfortunately, brother, it is happening, especially between the non-Arabs. Especially between the non-Arabs. As for the Arabs, they are fewer. For the non-Arabs, they side even they don't know you. And they end up later on leaving the whole religion. When they go tashaddud, you see them shaving off the beard. And yes or not? Yes. They leave the whole thing. Because they went wrongly. And they gone harshly. They got the extreme. There's two extremes here and there. And inshallah, but we don't treat them like they treat us. Look at that. We don't chuck them out of Salafi like they chucked us. We don't. إخواننا بغوا علينا. نعم. تفضل يا أستاذ. How many ركعة تراويح? What time is the food? What time is the food now? If the food is now, we will give the answer quickly. Alright. The answer quickly is what the Prophet ﷺ had prayed. It's 8 rak'ah plus 3 is 11. So all the witr is 11 rak'ah. As Aisha described, ما كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يزيد في رمضان ولا في غير رمضان عن 11 ركعة. So we pray the 11 of the Prophet of Allah. You pray 11 in Muslim, you pray 11. You can't pray 21 at this time. You're going to be at 1 o'clock finishing, 2 o'clock. It'll be sahur. So 11 rak'ah inshallah. And by the way, just for your information, in some of the places in Morocco, they pray 36. 36 rak'ah. Some places take 41. So
In 1 hour.
An hour, I don't know. But I know that 21, they prayed it less than an hour. Subhanakallah bihamdika.
Do they pay 20 or 8?
Masjid al-Haram, I don't know the question why. If you think that whatever the Masjid al-Haram does is correct, then you're wrong. Because lots of the Masjid al-Haram they do, which you don't really agree upon. Like for example, you know for a fact that Masjid al-Haram, they do something called tabligh. Not tabligh jama'ah. Tabligh means that the Imam says Allahu Akbar, and there's another person who says Allahu Akbar, which is bid'ah. By the saying of Sheikh ibn Baz, Sheikh al-Albani, Sheikh ibn Baz, which is bid'ah. Because we don't need a tabligh. The tabligh is, if my voice does not reach the one behind, then there's another person who call out from behind for those who are well behind to hear. But the Imam is speaking into a microphone. Allahu Akbar. The microphone is attached to a wire. The wire is going to an amplifier. The amplifier sets to speakers. That person who says Allahu Akbar behind him is going to another microphone, to a wire, to the same amplifier, to the same speakers. So why do they need to say Allahu Akbar? It's a bid'ah. So not everything is being said there. So they pray 21, but it's not right. Like that, pause like this. So they thought, it's not really that much ibadah. And they said, why should he make much ibadah anyway? Allah had forgiven for him the past and the future sins. But for us, Allah did not forgive us for us the past and the future sins. So as for me, I don't marry. Second one, as for me, I don't sleep the night, play all the night. As for me, I fast all the year. I don't break my fast. Then the Prophet ﷺ was told about it. He went on the public. He said, I heard 3 people coming to me and started asking about my ibadah. He said, verily, ama inni akhshakum lillahi wa atqakum. I have more piety to Allah than anybody of you. I fear Allah more than anybody of you. And I sleep and I pray and I fast and I break my fast. And I marry the women, and he who does choose another way than my way, then he is not for me. He called it another religion. Different religion, but not Islam. So the Sufis are different clans, different methodologies. In the Sufis, that Sufi, you have hardcore Sufi, which can be outside the fold of Islam, and softcore Sufi, which is small bid'ahs. The small bid'ahs, like for example, the ones who make the adhkar, A greater bid'ah than making the adhkar with shaking the head. A greater bid'ah than making the adhkar with shaking the head as well with sheesh, kebab, you know, putting everywhere. Big greater bid'ah than they made shirk, and so on and so forth. But we have Sufis which are people like kuffar, like the ones in Turkey, the ones in whirling. Is it whirling? Whirling. These people are kuffar. Those are the ones that don't pray. They don't do any types of. Why? Because they say when you whirl, you go through 3 stages. Stage number 1, with God. So you whirl, become with God. And second stage, tudizina, in God. Third stage, God. So within God. So they become like God. They're kuffar. See, that's our hardcore Sufis. So definitely, Sheikh Al-Fuzan, when he said that different religions, they are different religions. But as I said, we can't say they are kuffar except for those who have gone that extreme. There are so many who have gone unfortunately that extreme. Allah Ta'ala a'lam. Any questions? Fadal.
What's the difference between a Brelvi and a Sufi then? Because
every Brelvi is a Sufi, but not vice versa. Every Brelvi is a Sufi, but not every Sufi is a Brelvi. What is Brelvi? Inshallah. واحد الحين ولا
واحد كان يصلي العشاء.
طيب. لا أرجع أطلع الشمس. Brelvis, they are in the city Brel. They come from there. And their ibadah is actually based on protecting around about graves, Jilani, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They give to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam things which, for example, Hazar Nazar. You know what this Hazar Nazar? He's Hazar by even he's not there. That's why when they have their Hadra, they have a chair which is empty. They think that the Prophet is present. And if you say the Prophet died, he says, Astaghfirullah. He's died. So he's dead anyway. Allah says, Innaka mayyitun wa innahum mayyitun. They are dead and they are all of them. أَفَإِنْ مَاتَ أَوْ قُتِلَ. Allah says in the Qur'an that if he dies, so if he dies, he's a human being. But they say that he's not dead, he's not dead. Yes, we believe he's alive, a barzakh alive, like all the people who died, but the barzakh alive. Yes, the prophets have got specialties to them, not just the Prophet Muhammad, like their blood and their flesh cannot be eaten and decomposed by the earth. Like, for example, they are praying in their graves. Okay? Like the Prophet ﷺ received the salutation, salam, and he sends it back. Allah knows the best how. It's not like the way it is when he's alive. So all of these specialties of the Prophet ﷺ in the grave, yes, but he's dead. His soul is not connected to his body. As for the Sufis, not every Sufi Brahmi. Some Sufis they don't know what is Brahmis anyway. So the Brahmis are from the Pakistan, India. Yes. Most of them. And the thing is distinguished in the masajid. You find distinguished in the masjid, Ya Allah, Ya Muhammad. You have to have that. As soon as you come into the dens of shirk. Yeah? Dens of shirk, stable of shirk. Stay away. Ya Allah, Ya Muhammad. And they believe that the Prophet ﷺ is made of the light. You know that? Nur, which is the attributes of Allah. So that they believe qualities of Allah Azza wa Jal. So Ya Allah, Ya Muhammad. And now, the Brahmins, we don't treat them as to be knowledgeable, to be all of kuffar. No, we say the Brahmins, they are dalal, upon dalal. No. Wala fakhr. Are you not proud of it?
No.
Well, can you pray?
No, you need to say something.
Yes. I was used to be Brahmin.
Yeah.
I have more knowledge about them. What they believe, what they think, what they pray to graveyard, Jilani, what they call.
Alhamdulillah. But when you were a Brahmin, did you know all of this aqidah? No, you didn't. You were just following, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, you were ignorant. That's why we don't treat our fathers and mothers who are Brahmins.
Don't listen to them.
That's it. Don't listen to Wahhabis.
Don't listen to them.
Why? Because they've got the hujjah.
Even they
They've got the power of the proof.
Yes.
Don't listen to them. So that the mushrikun, what do they do to the mushrikun? Is to put their fingers in the ears. And they put the clothes on top of them. Why? Because they notice the haqq and the haqq, they can't cope. Their heart will. So they have to do this. So don't listen to them. Because if they listen, they know. What's wrong with these people? Why is it they are mushrik? Oh, MashaAllah. And I'll tell you a story which I want you to know. I had a Sufi Sheikh who MashaAllah came Salafi, and I made a film, a documentary about him, and it's on the internet. It's in Arabic actually. He was a Sufi, hardcore Sufi, and he used to poke himself with sheesh and everything. And he was to be a murid to his Sheikh. His Sheikh was everything for him. You know the Sufi, they say that you have to be with your Sheikh exactly like the person who's dead in the hands of the person who washes him. You know when you're dead and somebody washes you, do you complain? The person who washes you, put your hand like this and you put that there. The dead cannot complain, please don't put your hand. He can't complain, who's dead? You have to be with your Sheikh the same thing. He does whatever, you can't say nothing. So he said, I was with my Sheikh like this. Then they said to me, there is a Wahhabi coming to such and such masjid, go and kill him. That's in Syria. And he's known to be a head of his tribe, powerful. He said, and I'm dedicated, devoted to my Sheikh. I said, you're going to kill him. Wahhabi, I'm going to kill him. So I said, I'm going to kill him after the prayer, after the Jumu'ah. So he went to the khutbah of Jumu'ah. Now he's waiting for it because they told him that the Wahhabi, he does not pray upon the Prophet of Allah, he hates the Prophet ﷺ, he has, all of that lies. So he said, I listened to the khutbah. He said, Qala Allah, Qala Rasulullah. I said, why should I kill this man? He said, only Qala Allah said, the Prophet ﷺ said. Then the following he said, maybe I was really drunk that Jumu'ah. Let me have another Jumu'ah. Maybe I didn't listen to him properly. So the second Jumu'ah, listen to him. Qala Allah, Qala Rasulullah. So I said, I'm going to talk to him. So he went down. I said, Sheikh. And that Sheikh, I don't know him. Sheikh. He might die, and Allah knows upon him. So he said to the Sheikh, are you Wahhabi? He said to him, no. Are you a kafir? He said, no, I'm not a kafir. So why are you asking? He said, well, they said that you are Wahhabi. He said to me, what do you know about Muhammad Wahhabi? He said, I don't know anything, but you say Wahhabi. I said, I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you little booklets. You read them. So he gave me 3 booklets. One of them, Usul al-Thalatha. One of the second, Da'wah al-Tawheed. And the third one, I can't remember. And he said, the 3 booklets, sandwiches, like I call them sandwiches. He said, Wallahi, I did not sleep the night until I read all of them, the 3 books. I came the following day, and you have more books. I want to read. I want to read. Then I said, I was mushrik all my days, all my life. I was mushrik. What's this? I'm going to kill that Sheikh of mine. He's going to be shirk. So he said to me, I'll tell you what, you go to the biggest Sheikh. The Wahhabi said to him, the Sheikh, the scholar, you go to the biggest Sheikh of yours. And he used to, make duf. He used to make a duf, because all Sufis do duf. He said, you make duf, but don't make poetry which is called shirk. Make poetry about tawheed. And see what Sheikh says. So he went to his Sheikh, the biggest one, in another city. And there was a duf hanging. He took the duf down and he started. And Allah Azza wa Jal will bring back, if the camels are lost, will bring them back. Because the Prophet says that Allah, if the camels are lost, Jilani will bring them back. So he says, Allah alone will bring them back. So the man, the Sufi, looked at him. He said, you became Wahhabi? He said, you know what I'm saying? This poetry which is Tawheed and became a Wahhabi? Wallah, if I died, I would have about shirk. I'm going to smash your head, and he went on top of him. And his wife was bringing some water, because they were having some, dinner. She was bringing water. She saw me on top of her husband. She brought the whole water saucepan on top of me. There was a fight in the street. Alhamdulillah, that he said, Allah had saved me from the shirk. I was upon shirk. Then after that, he was the biggest sort of Salafiyya Tawheed in that count, in that, mashallah, in that county. And mashallah, he fought the shirk. There's no Sufi whatsoever in this area. Because all of them are afraid of him. That's why they told him, go and kill the Wahhabi. He would kill him. But he became, Wahhabi. So he started to talk about it and became a Sheikh. Became da'iyah to everywhere. He met the Sheikh al-Albani. That's why I made a documentary about him. It is, you could find it in al-burhan.com. www.al-burhan.com. B-U-R-H-A-N. You find it there, inshallah. That's the Sufis. And you'll find that person, even you find my voice talking to him regarding the issue of where he was living and so on and so forth. Very good documentary. Now.
Do you know the onions and regarding raw garlic and stuff? I heard that angels will curse you if you come to the mosque when you come smelling of this.
Hopefully they're not cursing you, inshallah, but the angels, they are harmed from what the people are harmful.
Right.
So when you come to the masjid, if the people curse you, it's like the angels, well, we're going to curse you. So if you come to the masjid with the smell of the garlic and onion, you're going to make me, breathless. I can't breathe while I'm, praying because your breath is so powerful. The Prophet of Allah, he had seen some people, came inside, one person who's got garlic smell. he had commanded for him to be held from the feet and the hands, and to be chucked in the Baqiyah. Baqiyah is a cemetery. Why? Because the people are dead, they're not going to be annoyed with the smell. They're dead anyway. So he said, you are reserved to live with the dead, not with the alive. And that's hadith sahih. So, if you want to come to the masjid, you make sure, not just the garlic, not just the onion, some people come with cigarettes as well. Worse! Stink! A number of times I have broken my prayer because my person next to me, he stinks. I couldn't hold my breath, so I leave, go to the other side. So that's a curse upon him, for me and the angel. I don't curse him, but this is a curse because you have harmed me. So the person needs to come to the masjid, Ya bani Adam, khudhu zinatakum inda kulli masjid. Oh, son of Adam, take your beauty to the masjid. You are coming here to communicate with the Lord. You come with your best of clothes. Why is it that when you go to make an interview for a job, so somebody who's even not a Muslim, dress up smartly, put best perfume, mashallah. Here you come to meet the Lord of the Lords, the King of the Kings, and you are dressed up horribly, smelling, a'udhu billah, bad smells. Brothers as well, the curry. Curry is nice to you. I love curry. I'm a curry person, mashallah. Love it. Even you Bangladeshi, you love the curry, fish curry. I made Hajj last year with Bangladeshi, so I had breakfast curry, afternoon curry. Wallah. In the morning I had fish curry. Wallah. They have in the morning.
And the fish song is number
a
one.
month with them. And to supper.
1 pound fish.
They're nice, but the smell of it after, you have to really clean yourself. The smell, it's very strong. You know, when we hit the road here, me and my son, what did we smell? The whole road smelled curry. The whole road. I said, welcome Pakistan. Welcome Bangladesh. So the smell, yeah, I like the curry, but the smell is pretty. When you come to the masjid, make sure. Alhamdulillah, when I came to this masjid, I didn't smell anything. I was met. When you come to the Bravery Masjid, I'm pretty sure you smell curry. 100%. 100%. Because all of them really people who are not educated, taxi drivers or something like this. They're not educated, they come and they don't care about the people. Wallah. MashaAllah, they smell nice. MashaAllah. Onions, if you kill them cooking like if you kill it, no problem. Even if you eat raw onion, but you make sure there's no smell coming from it. For example, you eat parsley will take it out. Parsley or coriander, one of them. If you chew parsley or coriander, after it, parsley is it? Parsley. Yeah, parsley. Then we'll take it out. And perfume yourself. Okay?
The best thing is sivak.
The sivak, nothing can smell. No. The garlic is coming from underneath. Unless you sivak, mashallah, leaves your stomach. Something else. But it's coming from here, it's not here. Not the problem comes from the sweat sometimes. You know sweat? Yes. You sweat garlic. So it's not really easy. You have to be careful. Naam.
I've got a question on Hajj.
Fadla.
This brother from our town, he did Hajj at Tamattu. When he went for Hajj, he did Umrah first, then he did the Sa'i for the Umrah, then he did a separate Sa'i before Hajj. Then after the Hajj, so he didn't do the Sa'i. Will that Sa'i be sufficient for the...
The Sa'i, which is done for the Qaran, the one Qiran, is definitely enough for both. As for the Mutamatta', the correct opinion, it is enough. Because there is no proof whatsoever that there is a Sa'i, second one, when he must Hajj. And this is a blessing from Allah. It is good to make Sa'i, but it is not compulsory. Because you know for a fact the Sa'i of the Ifadah is so difficult. You know the Tawaf of the Ifadah is so difficult. So if he made Tawaf and Sa'i for his Umrah, it would suffice his Sa'i only, not the Tawaf for Ifadah. Just makes the Tawaf and no Sa'i. But if he does Sa'i, more reward. Doesn't do the Sa'i, his Hajj is valid. Okay? That's the correct opinion. That's the opinion of Sheikh Islam ibn Taymiyyah, and this is the opinion of our Sheikh Al-Albani rahmatullah.
Is that for Tamattu as well?
I said for the Tamattu, I'm saying.
Right.
I repeat my answer. There's Hajj in 3 types. Ifrad, Qaran, Tamattu. Ifrad, single Hajj. And this is only for the person who is in Mecca. Because there's no Umrah for him. He does single Hajj. Person who's outside could make Qiran, making Umrah, and no state of inviolable. He will link it to the Hajj. He will not take off his clothes. And the other one, which is Tamattu, he makes Umrah, take off his Ihram, and on the 8th day he resumes Hajj. Yes? In the Quran, as I said, that sa'i of yours in the Umrah will be enough. With the scholars, consensus of the scholars. But in the tamattu is ikhtilaf, differences. But the correct opinion, it is enough. Is that understood? It is enough. It is rewardable if you do it, but it's not a must upon you. Okay? And that's the opinion of Sheikh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah and Sheikh al-Albani. Now, listen.
Sheikh, I don't understand fully. I want to. For example, I go from there around and make the.
What do you understand? What is this question?
No, about the tomato.
I said tamattu'. I'll tell you what's tamattu'. Tamattu' means tamattu' is فمن تمتع بالحج إلى العمرة. That means he makes tamattu'. He makes the Hajj and the Umrah, but with a gap. A gap which has got no state of ihram. So he does his Umrah from the Miqat Labbaik Allahumma bi'umrah. Then he goes to Mecca, rotates, and makes a sa'i, and then he cuts. Finish the Umrah, take off clothes. Everything halal for him, women halal, everything. Then on the 8th day of the Hajj, he does Hajj. Now, you know, when he does Hajj on the 8th, he goes to Mina. The 9th day, he goes to Arafah. The 9th of the 9th, he goes to Muzdalifah. The following day, he goes to Mina, and then he goes to Mecca to make the Tawaf and the Sa'i. If he made the Sa'i in the Umrah, it is enough for him. He doesn't have to make the Sa'i. But if he makes it, he will be rewarded. But if he doesn't make it, your Hajj is okay.
It's okay.
To give, what do you call it? Dam. If you miss that.
This one.
Sa'i.
I said it's okay. There was no dam. The dam in the Hajj, dam means the sacrificial.
Yes.
Dam is not really killing somebody. Dam is blood. Dam sacrificial. Sacrificial is only 5 things. No other than that. What's the proof for that? Only 5. First dam, sacrificial for the person who is making Quran or tamattu'. He makes the hadi. You know what's the hadi? He makes the hadi. That's the first dam. Second dam, the dam when the person he makes intercourse with his wife. Whether it's before the first tahallul or whether before the second tahallul. If it's before the first tahallul, his Hajj is invalid. He has to Hajj to make the Hajj the following year. And he has to repent to Allah and to sacrifice a camel. If he does it after the first tahallul, after throw the jamrah, but before the second tahallul, then he has, his Hajj is okay, he will be sinned, but he has to sacrifice a sheep. So you call it dam al-wutr. Third dam, third blood, dam al-jaza, person who had hunted. When you hunt, you have to pay a recompense. That is, for example, hunted a hyena, you pay a sheep. Okay? And you have, this is called al-jaza, sight. Fourth one, the one who's got adha, firoxi, lice, disease, illness, you call it, this is adha, then he's got a choice, either a sacrificial, or fasting 3 days, or giving 3 sa'as of barley or whatever to 6 poor people as the hadith. The fifth type of blood, which is al-ihsar, person was restricted to go to Mecca because of his broken limb, or because his illness stopped him, or because an enemy stopped him, called dam al-ihsar, then he had to slaughter a sheep. This is the 5 types of bloods. There is no other than that. There is no blood if you have clipped your nails. There's no blood if you shaved your head. There's no blood if you shaved your head for the other, yes, for that, but not shaving, for example, you cut your hair. There's no blood for that. There is no blood if you have left the miqat. All of that based upon an athar of Ibn Abbas, which is, we say the athar is correct, but we know that the companions, radiyallahu anhum wa arbahum, had narrated the Hajj, numbers of them. And they have narrated for us that prayer is just like his video cam. You know that? Like prayer has been narrated to us, it's like as being a camcorder. I'll tell you, even the camcorder would not do as good as they have done. Prophet ﷺ said, كان إذا رفع يديه حاذا بإبهامه المنكبين أو شحمة أذنيه. Look. Prophet ﷺ sometimes he does like this, sometimes like he does like. Can you tell me what's the difference here, please? Can you spot that on the camcorder? That sometimes the thumb is equivalent to here, and sometimes equivalent to there. What is the difference between here and there? I'm asking. Show you the precision. The camcorder, wallah, you look at it 100 times, you can't. There's no difference between you. You will not even notice it. They were even like having a measuring tape for him. Living like this, living like that. So the companions who had narrated this, and they narrated that Hajj in details, none of them narrated that when the person, for example, he had cut his nails, or he had shaved, or he had put his clothes, not the ihram, all of that to make an expiation. Because you see, slaughtering a sheep is not cheap, is it? Slaughtering a sheep is not cheap, is it? Expensive. You cut your nail, oh, sheep. Took 3 hairs, sheep. Bankrupt this man.
No, they even say that even if you don't know what you've done, you still have to give.
I know. So even I respect the scholars, they say it. But we respect the scholars, but they have no knowledge. Do you understand that? Jazakallahu khayran.
If anybody do more than one...
Can I have some water, please, bro? I think this is not enough for me. I want a bottle.
Umrah in Hajj,
We're not saying
does it invalidate his Hajj?
If he does Umrah and Hajj,
Yeah, if he does more than one Umrah.
no, it does not invalidate. Nobody would say that Hajj is invalid if he does more than one Umrah. But we say to the person, if you are in Hajj, you are not to do except for the Umrah that you have done tamattu. Don't you waste your time. You know, like these people, they go from Masjid Aisha onto the Umrah. Masjid Aisha. You know Masjid Aisha?
Yes.
5 riyals in the bus, 5 riyals coming back. 5 riyals coming back. One person in front of me was asking the other person, you know, guess how much Umrah have you done? He said, oh, 19 almost. Wallah, wallah. And the person said, 21. I don't know how did he be shaving. He said, well, Umrah, he been shaving. Then what's how many hair left to them? You're really clean cut. 21 Umrah in one day.
In one day?
Yes! Possible? Look, going, coming. Takes 1 hour to do the Umrah, 1 hour and a half. Going, coming. They were talking to each other during the night. Coming to the hotel exhausted. 21 Umrah. You say, I'm more than you are.
What about Sheikh if he coming from Medina?
So I will tell you once. The person, when he does the Umrah, then he's advised to do tawaf as much as he can. Not Umrah is a waste of time to make Umrah. If you are in the impression that the Aisha radiallahu anha, she made the Umrah after the Hajj, well, this is based upon the following. Bismillah. Aisha radiallahu anha, when she, with the companions and the Prophet of Allah, arrived to a place called Sarif, not far away from Mecca, she menstruated. Her menses came on. And the Prophet ﷺ said, don't worry, do whatever the Hajj does, except for 2 things. Tawaf, and the other thing, which is the Salah. Don't make Salah. So do whatever the Hajj does. Tawaf includes the Sa'i, by the way. You can't do Tawaf or Sa'i. So she did not do the Umrah. She didn't do the Umrah. She had to wait until she's cleansed. And she was cleansed on the 9th or the Hajj, which was on Arafah. So she did the Arafah and everything. And after they did the Hajj, they wanted to go back to Medina. So she started crying. Messenger of Allah, everybody goes with Hajj and Umrah, and I go only with Hajj. Because she hasn't done Umrah. And the Prophet of Allah, she's young by the way, she's young. She was only 16 years old. Oh, everybody goes with Hajj and Umrah, and I go with Hajj. Prophet Salam, you know, to relieve, that makes her happy. He said, okay, Abdul Rahman, hey brother, make a ride up behind you on the camel, and go make Hajj from the hill. Hill is the place indicating the areas on the borders of the county of Mecca. One of them is Masjid Aisha, which is called Tan'im. Tan'im is not Masjid Aisha, Tan'im. So he went to the Tan'im. Now, you know for a fact, the companions, to make their Umrah and Hajj, they had to travel for more than 4 days. Not like now, 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours, or half an hour on a plane. 4 days. This is a big opportunity for them, because they have done this big journey to make as many Umrah as possible. Yes or not? Yes. One of them has done it. Not only that, Abdul Rahman, he went with Aisha. She makes the Umrah and he does not do the Umrah. Because he understood from the Prophet is only for whom?
Yes.
For Aisha. He could have grabbed that opportunity, he made Umrah himself. It's not 5 riyals now. It's not 5 riyals, it's a big journey with a camel. The camel coming back, he did not do Umrah. And that's why when Sheikh al-Albani was asked by a man, can I make Umrah from Tan'im? He says, if you menstruate like Aisha, inshallah you will. So menstruate like women, you do it. So there is no such thing. Sheikh al-Albani said, bid'ah. There is no such thing. That's Sheikh ibn Baz, he allows it, rahimahullah, but he's wrong in that. ونقول لكم إن شاء الله خلاص. Isha is a long way.
4 minutes left.
Oh, for Isha?
Alhamdulillah.
Ah, mashallah. Okay, خلاص, we'll stay for Isha, inshallah.
I was going to say, I know about...
You asked a question. Let's ask somebody who's asked an answer.
No, I already asked that question.
No, you have asked a question.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Not the question. You asked a question.
Did I ask a question?
I think, yes, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anybody has got no question, please hasn't asked a question, please ask. Don't be shy. Okay, go ahead.
Sheikh, what happens if your iman's gone really weak? What do you do about it? You know, so like you've been
Come
on
to these
drugs,
lectures.
You've been to drugs, so many
Come to these lectures and come to the masjid. Don't worry. Person's iman goes up and down.
Yeah.
As long as you are holding to your religion, when your iman is down, then you've got salvation. You understand? Prophet ﷺ, he said that the person has his own times when his iman is up and his iman down. If you are upon the sunnah and Islam, when your iman is down, then you've got salvation because you're going to be upon the sunnah when your iman is up. So if you are holding to your religion when your iman is down, alhamdulillah. Now, for you to boost your iman, have an iman booster, the best thing is to, number one, is to have your companions picked up, hand-picked up, properly. Because verily those people who drugs, definitely they've got friends who put them with drugs. وَالْمَرْءُ عَلَى دِينِ خَلِيلِهِ. And the person upon the religion of his companion. Isn't it true? He listens to his companion more than he listens to father and mother. More he listens to his wife. If he listens to his wife. He listens to his friend, and his friend becomes so. Maybe your friend is good. الصاحب ساحب. In Arabic is a very good word. الصاحب is a companion. Sahib, he pulls you either to heaven or to hellfire. Choose. Number two, of course, I mean, your iman and my iman, everybody's iman goes up and down. It's not like just you think my iman is going to be full. No, it goes up and down. But these are the places, you know, for, you could say, reconciling your heart and fixing your heart. So verily, if your car, something goes wrong with it, you go to the garage. When your heart goes wrong, come to the masjid. This masjid, inshallah, with the brothers here, malaika with us. I have no doubt, or malaika with us. Sitting down and listening, as well going to Allah, the Almighty later on and telling Him what we're doing, and Allah knows. So Allah will give us the barakah. All of that, you could find the imam now, mashallah, tabarakallah. But as soon as we leave that door outside, naked women here, wal'iyadu here, iman drops. Come to another prayer, come back. Iman goes up, that's another person. So iman goes up and down, up and down. So drugs and no drugs, if you come to the masjid, definitely, I'm telling you brother, don't worry, don't worry. At the end of the day, I would say to you, there is goodness in everybody who comes to the masjid, alhamdulillah. So the person who comes to the masjid, at least he's got a, the problem is the ones we can't reach them. We can't see them. We can't call them. Don't give up, brothers, to give da'wah to these people. We are concerned about our brothers more than we are concerned to bring other people to Islam. Wallah. We should really pay attention to our clan. Lots of people lost. They don't know nothing about Islam. Nothing. They have no idea. They fornicate and they drink alcohol. And, I've got lots of people coming to me. I want to get married to my girlfriend. I want to get married because she's pregnant already. So, I would say, inshallah, to you, Jazakallah khairan. Allah asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to, inshallah, affirm the iman all of our hearts. And make us upon the sunnah. Wa akhiru da'wana, alhamdulillah, rabbil alamin. معلش.